Hello there! Welcome to the world of Python programming. Python is a wonderful computer language. Many people love Python because it is easy to read. It is a great choice if you are new to coding. Think of it like learning a new spoken language, but for talking to computers. In this guide, we will look at some very important first steps. We will cover the basic building blocks you need. These blocks will help you write your very own Python programs. Soon, you will see how simple and fun Python can be. So what are these Python basics we are talking about? They are the fundamental rules and tools of the Python language. Learning these basics is super important. It is like learning the alphabet before you try to read a book, or learning how to hold a pencil before you draw a picture. Without these basics, trying to write complex programs would be very confusing. We will explore how to name things in Python, how to structure your code correctly, and how to work with different kinds of information. This foundation will make your coding journey much smoother. One of the best things about Python is its focus on simplicity. The language was designed to be easy to understand. You will find that Python code often looks a lot like plain English. This makes it less scary for beginners. The core concepts we are about to discuss are the heart of this simplicity. They help keep your code organized and clear. As you learn these concepts, you will start to think like a programmer. You will see how these small rules fit together to create powerful programs. It is all about taking one step at a time. Getting these first steps right is really key. Imagine building with Lego bricks. You need to know how the bricks connect before you can build a castle or a spaceship. These Python basics are your first set of connecting bricks. They might seem small, but they are the foundation for everything else you will learn in Python. So let's get started on this exciting adventure. We will explore these ideas together, making sure everything is clear and easy to follow. Let's dive in and learn some Python. In Python, when you create something like a variable or a function, you need to give it a name. These names are called identifiers. Think of identifiers as labels you put on boxes. Each box holds some information, and the label helps you find it later. For example, you might have a variable name to store someone's age, or a variable name to store a person's name. Choosing good descriptive names makes your code much easier to read and understand. It helps you remember what each part of your program does. Python has some specific rules for how you can create these names, or identifiers. First, an identifier must start with a letter, from A to Z or A to Z. It can also start with an underscore character. After the first character, you can use more letters, underscores, or numbers, 0 to 9. However, you cannot use spaces or special characters like exclamation mark, @, hash, or $sign. Also, Python identifiers are case sensitive. This means that is a different name from or. So, be careful with capitalization. Now, there are some special words in Python called keywords or reserved words. These words have predefined meanings and purposes within the Python language itself. Python uses them to understand the structure and logic of your programs. You cannot use these keywords as your identifiers, like variable names or function names. It would be like trying to rename the word if in English. It would just confuse everyone, including Python. Python needs these words to do its job correctly, so they are off limits for your own naming purposes. Here are some common examples of Python keywords. For defining functions, for creating objects, for sending a value back from a function, and there are more, but these are some you will see often. If you try to use a keyword as an identifier, Python will give you an error message. It's like Python saying, "Hey, that word is mine. You can't use it for your stuff." So always make sure your chosen names are not on this special list of reserved words. One very unique thing about Python is how it uses indentation. Indentation refers to the spaces at the beginning of a line of code. In many other programming languages, programmers use curly braces or keywords to show which lines of code belong together in a block. Python does things differently. It uses indentation to define the structure and grouping of your code. This means that the amount of space you put before your code lines is very important. It is not just for making the code look pretty, it tells Python how your program is organized. The standard practice in Python is to use 4 spaces for each level of indentation. So if you have a block of code inside another block, the inner block will have 8 spaces. Consistency is the most important thing. All lines of code that belong to the same block must have the exact same amount of indentation. For example, when you write in statement, the lines of code that should run if the condition is true must be indented underneath the line. This visual structure makes Python code very readable. What happens if you get the indentation wrong? Python will raise an error, usually in. Your program will stop running, and Python will tell you that there is a problem with how you have spaced your code. This might seem strict at first. However, it actually helps a lot. It forces everyone who writes Python code to follow a clear and consistent style. This makes it easier for different programmers to read and understand each other's code. So, always pay close attention to your spaces. It is a fundamental part of writing correct Python programs. Another important part of writing good code is using comments. Comments are notes that you write in your code for humans to read. Python completely ignores comments when it runs your program. They are there to help you and others understand what your code is doing, why it is doing it, or how it works. To write a single-line comment in Python, you start the line with a hash symbol. Everything after the hash on that line is a comment. For longer explanations, you can have multiple lines, each starting with a hash. Some people use triple quotes for multi-line comments, which are technically docstrings, but often serve this purpose. When you write programs, you will be working with different kinds of information or data. Python needs to know what type of data you are using so it can handle it correctly. These categories of data are called data types. Think of them like different kinds of containers. Some containers are for numbers, some for text, and some for true or false values. Python has several built-in data types that are very common. We will look at a few of the most important ones to get you started on your coding journey. Understanding these types is essential for storing and manipulating information in your programs. First, we have integers, or for short. Integers are whole numbers. They can be positive, like 1, 42, or 1000. They can also be negative, like -5 or -200. 0 is also an integer. You use integers for things like counting items or keeping score in a game. For example, uses an integer. Next, we have strings, or strings are used to represent text. You create a string by putting characters inside single quotes or double quotes. Strings can be letters, numbers, symbols, or spaces. For example, uses a string. Then there are booleans, or booleans are quite simple. They can only have one of two values, or. Notice that and start with a capital letter in Python. Booleans are very important for making decisions in your code. For example, you might check if a condition is before running a certain piece of code. An example could be, we also have floating point numbers, or floats are numbers that have a decimal point, like 3.14 or -0.001. They are used when you need more precision than whole numbers can offer, such as for measurements or financial calculations. For example, uses a float. Finally, a very useful data type is the list. A list in Python is an ordered collection of items. These items can be of any data type, even mixed types within the same list. You create a list by putting items inside square brackets, separated by commas. For example, creates a list. Lists are mutable, which means you can change them after they are created. You can add, remove, or change items. These are just a few of Python's built-in types, but they are the ones you will use most often when you start. Keep practicing, and you will become very comfortable with them.